Welcome back. Welcome back. You are listening to Whissel Wednesdays here on AM 1170 The Answer. My name is Kyle Whissel, your host with Whissel Realty, joined as always by Mr. Jason Hall and Angel Vallejo with Team Home Loans. It's good to have you guys here, Jason.
Thank you, sir.
And Mr. James Cassady, State Farm Insurance.
Glad to be here.
James, I want to talk about what happens. You know, we just had a big storm blow through last night here in San Diego. You know, the news channels blow everything out of proportion and show the two streets in San Diego that flood every time, you know, it rains. They show like just
But it
they
was
have
ugly
their
last night, you guys.
It was beautiful.
Okay, I was in the middle of it. I saw over 15 accidents, 5 rolled over, 12 cops, and this was all in 6 miles. It was insane right around the 10 o'clock hour. I mean, it was really coming down heavy, and people don't realize our streets aren't made to handle this quick water, and things get clogged up, and we don't mess with it. And they had all these workers out there. They started getting out there at 8 to 9 o'clock. At least they were prepared when they knew the water was coming, because it was creating these huge puddles on the freeways. And people are driving, you know, they go from 70 to 50, and all of a sudden you hit a huge puddle of water that you don't expect to be there. You lose control, and that's what I believe caused most of these injuries I saw, or at least most of the damages to the cars I saw. I just hope and pray that everybody's healthy. But it was scary. I was happy driving my wife's Toyota truck, and I felt very confident, but I'm glad I wasn't driving the little Volt.
So your wife drives a big truck and you drive a little car?
I drive a little car.
Okay. Just
Because,
making
you know,
sure I got
I drive
that right.
most of the miles, and, you know, I had to buy her something we could tow the boat with. But since she drove up to Temecula for a conference, Mr. Hall said, hey, I'll be happy to take the truck. So that's how we roll.
Love it.
It makes me think of umbrella coverage, an umbrella policy.
Okay. So talk about what that is. I know that I've heard of that before. I had a very wise man advise me one day that was much more wise than me. He's like, no matter what happens in your life, you need to have an umbrella policy. So I went and got one.
Yep.
But why should somebody, you know, if somebody's listening to this show right now and they've heard it, just like I've heard that you should have an umbrella policy, what is it and why should somebody have one?
Quick backstory. I spent some time in the hospital in May. I thought I was having a stroke. Oddly enough, I was 40, I'm 41 now, but thought I was having a stroke, lost some vision. At the end of the day, nothing was really wrong with me. But I spent the night in the hospital, and I got a hospital bill for $34,000. $34,000.
Thank you, Obamacare.
Yeah, they didn't do any work on me at all. Like, hooked me up to some electrodes, put me in a cylinder box. I got a bill for $34,000.
So how do they justify $34,000 so that we understand?
Room and board, technicians, electricity, like
They charge you
itemize
for
it.
the
It's
gloves
there.
that they wear, for the sheets that you laid on. They charge you for all that.
But this is very
insane.
important, though. This is very important because
And we have the best in the world. We know that. But that's insane, $34,000.
it's a lot of money, okay? And when most people don't know what their insurance coverages are, they don't know. You ask them, oh, my wife handles it. I don't know. My husband handles it. I don't know.
So how much were you
think
covered?
That
So that's the
they're
question.
insured.
How much were you covered?
I had coverage. I had health insurance. But my
So
point
you
is,
were 100% covered? I'm just curious.
I spent $110.
Nice. So it was only $110.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
Not everybody has insurance. Not all insurance covers everything. So here's the point, though. You put someone in a hospital because of a car accident, you're talking big money. If they have head trauma, you go into ER, you go into intensive care, not just tens of thousands, but hundreds of thousands of dollars. So what happens is that person's going to come around and sue you because you were at fault. You're liable for all this stuff. Not only are they going to sue you for their hospital bills, but they're going to sue you for time out of work, pain and suffering. A lawyer, a good lawyer, bad lawyer, depending on how you look at it, is going to go after all of your equity positions, the homes that you own, the rental properties that you own, other investments that you have that are non-tax qualified investments. If you don't have enough,
if you have anything, you should be covered.
well, what you need to do is you need to look at what your equity positions are and then cover that, because the equity that you have may not be enough, but also your salary is part of that equity position. They can take 25% of your annual income and your wife's,
See, I didn't even know
or
that.
your husband's,
I didn't even know that, James. That's
and take it
wild.
for 10
20
years if you don't have enough to cover it. So
Wow.
what we do in our office is we have a very simple conversation. We sit down and we go, okay, look, before we slam out, and we talked about this last time, a 6-minute quote, because you can't get abs in 6 minutes, right? So we talked about that last time. You can't get a good auto
But
quote.
I wasn't listening last time.
Okay.
So let's make sure you might want to hit that at some point.
Have a simple conversation. Talk about the things that you need to cover so they're not exposed. So when then that chance that it does happen, you've got the right amount of coverage. So for State Farm, you need to have an umbrella policy, which is $1 million worth of coverage that will cover not only over the top of your auto coverage, but also under the liability of your homeowner's coverage in case something were to happen. You've got $1.25 million worth of lawsuit, bodily damage, bodily injury coverage, up to $1.5 million, depending on how many people are in the car. Because that's what the lawyers are going to come after. You need to look and sit and say, what am I worth? What is my value? That conversation also turns into a life insurance conversation, because in case something were to happen to you, how are you going to take care of the little girl that's coming?
Right.
You got to make sure that
and
those
that's
things are
the
in place.
key. Not everybody knows that they need all that. How much are we talking about, like, for the average person? I know everything's different.
Yeah.
But if you're listening right now and you're like, well, this guy's talking a lot of insurance, how much would this cost?
So this is the most incredible part of the insurance world that no one knows. That umbrella policy will cost you anywhere between $19 a month for an extra $1 million worth of coverage.
Wow.
Up to more, depending on if you have young, inexperienced drivers in the household. You got play toys because you like boats and you like RVs and motorcycles. You're a little bit more risky.
And Kyle,
right? But
you run Tough Mudders.
It can basically be as little as $19 a month. That's less than $1 a day for an additional $1 million worth of coverage. You should probably have it if you're that person that's in the position that has those equity positions. Come in, have a conversation. Let's figure out, put it on paper. I've got it on my dry erase board in the office, and we just sit and we go, okay, where do you stand?
Right.
What are you worth? What is the lawyer? What is that dirty, greasy lawyer going to come after? Because they're going to try to take you.
They're going to take everything. They're going to try to take everything they can. We know that. Again, you're listening to 1170 AM The Answer. This is Whissel Wednesdays. You can find past episodes on whisselwednesdays.com. You can hit us up on our text and phone line at 619-663-7355. That's 619-663-CELL. Goes directly to Mr. Kyle Whissel. So we've got James Cassady in studio, the insurance stud at State Farm out in Santee, giving us all kinds of information. And I think that was a big takeaway, Kyle, that one of your mentors told you, umbrella policy.
Yeah, I did the math on that. And I don't know if it's a good investment, James, because $19 a month for $1 million of coverage. That means one time in the next 52,631 months,
right,
you would have to have a claim come up to make it worth it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
If you're a probability numbers guy,
52 plus thousand months.
Yeah. Chances and probability.
$1 million coverage. I don't know. That seems like a decent investment.
We deal in probability all day long.
Yeah.
Right. What's the probability of you getting into an accident?
All right, here's my commitment to you. We are going to sit down. We need to review our insurances. I need to have you update some stuff. I personally need to get a better umbrella insurance policy. I don't even think I have one. And hold me to this. You guys are hearing this. Angel, Kyle, Brian in studio. We're going to sit down and get this done. And it's not going to take 2.5 hours. I don't want anybody to think it's going to take that long. No. But we're going to sit down.
Well, if you start telling stories, it will.
I don't talk to you.
It's an hour conversation. Spend an hour. I mean, in all of your hours that you spend during the day, like, is it worth an hour to make sure you don't lose everything that you've worked for your entire life? Is an hour worth that? I think so. I've got you got time for another quick story?
Go for it.
Okay, so a client of mine recently, you and I live in Santee. We live very close to each other. You
guys live real close.
Yeah.
Like,
I
he
just
can roll down his ball down to your house.
I live down the hill from
close.
Kyle. No. But was turning from Prospect onto Graves. Instead of us turning left, they turned right. It's a little hip in the street, and she turned right when it first started raining, and she slid out. She wasn't going very fast. She luckily didn't hit any oncoming traffic that was coming at her, but she slid across the street and knocked out a fire hydrant. No big deal, just a fire hydrant, right?
Well, that fire hydrant is expensive. I know firsthand.
It was $10,000. Our lawyers negotiated it down to $6,000 for her because the city charged her for the fire hydrant and for the water, right? Exactly.
And for the people who go out there and repair it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But what happened was the water went down into 6 different apartments and flooded out those apartments.
Oh.
So they had to remove those individuals from those apartments, put them in hotels while they were fixing the apartments.
And you have to put them in a better hotel than the houses they live in.
A little bit, because those apartments along there
are kind of unique. Let's just say that.
Unique. But the bill for all of that combined was about $98,000. Let's call it $100,000. Okay. Her property damage coverage under her insurance was $25,000. She's left holding a bill for $75,000.
Wow.
She has about $40,000 worth of equity in her condo that she owns. She's going to liquidate it, sell it, pay that off, and then they're going to garnish her wages, 25% of her income for 10 years.
Because she can't even BK off a judgment or something on that, right?
Talk to your tax attorney.
Yeah, we got some people on that. We can find out. But those are like, yeah, that's crazy.
So she was going literally 12 miles an hour and did a little slippy oopsie slide. And she's a single mom who's liquidating her condo that she's worked for that has $40,000 worth of equity, and now has to come up with the remaining balance.
Because she was truly underinsured.
Right. She owed $75K.
That's for that $19 a month umbrella policy.
What's interesting, she could have bumped her property damage coverage from $25,000 to $100,000 for $3. I think it was like $3.81 a month.
All right. We're going to wrap up. We're going to talk about that insurance. Again, you're listening to AM 1170, The Answer, KCBQ. This is Whissel Wednesday. We got something special Kyle Whissel wants to share. We're going to talk about coming up right after the break. Stay tuned. Something special in Kyle's life.